De La Hoya and Virgil, we're actually going to start with what I think is the more intriguing story, which is this whole back and forth between Anthony Cacace and Raymond Ford. Because for those of you who know, for those of you who don't know, Anthony Cacace, he is I believe he's the IBF champion, if I'm not mistaken, or he was the IBF champion. Let me double check myself. Now, he's not the IBF champion anymore, but he was. He vacated that title because Eduardo Sugar Nunez was mandatory. He didn't want no smoke. He didn't want to fight Eduardo Sugar Nunez. So he vacated the belt. Nunez fought Masanori Rikishi in May. Nunez beats Masanori Rikishi to become the champion. But Eddie Hearn and Matchroom, they made Ford versus Cacace originally for the card that took place yesterday. But Cacace, he had a back injury. He pulled out the fight. He didn't fight Raymond Ford. But that didn't stop Anthony Cacace from getting on Twitter, getting on X, and running his mouth about Raymond Ford. So let's go to what he said. Here's what Cacace said. He stated the following, and I quote, "Ray Ford is a typical American fighter. He can talk the talk, but the guy has no engine, and if pushed, he will fold." Now look, I'm not mad at Cacace for feeling that way, because I myself, in different parts of Raymond Ford's career, especially early on when he was fighting guys like Aaron Perez, Edward Vasquez, these kind of guys, I was the main critic of Raymond Ford's gas tank. I used to get on here and call Raymond Ford a front runner, and these kind of things. But when Raymond Ford was in a very high risk, low reward fight against Otabek Komatov, he showed that when put in there with real danger, he can answer the bell and he can take the heat. And not only did he win the world title, but he delivered the fight of the year for 2024. And I was there, and it was a great fight. And there was a lot of back and forth with Raymond Ford between me and him going into that fight. He was tweeting at me and stuff like that. And, maybe I motivated him a little bit. Who knows? But I don't really think Cacace has any room to talk about, American fighters or anything like that, because really and truthfully, number one, you pulled off the fight. You didn't fight Raymond Ford. And number two, and this will go on my second kind of sub talking point, which is, you haven't beaten any American fighters. Like, if it was a guy like Kell Brook or Joe Calzaghe or even a Tyson Fury, fighters from the UK that have come to America, even his fellow countryman Carl Frampton, if it was any one of those guys, they would have room to talk about beating American fighters, because they've actually they can talk about American fighters because they came to American soil and they beat American fighters. Cacace has never fought any American fighters. Let's check under the hood. Let's see, what has Cacace done to run his mouth about American fighters, because people love doing this in boxing. I feel like American fighters, and when I say American, I'm not talking about just black American fighters. I'm not just talking about Mexican American fighters. I'm not talking about just white American fighters. I'm talking about all American fighters. I'm putting the whole America under one umbrella. I'm talking about from the lakes of Minnesota to the hills of Tennessee, everywhere in America. So a lot of people from different countries love to talk trash about American fighters. Even the great Naoya Inoue, he had some things to say about American fighters after he beat Stephen Fulton. So it's very popular in boxing to talk sideways about American fighters. But I'm here to stick my flag in the ground and do what's not popular to do. I'm here to stick up for the American fighters, because yes, is American boxing, is there plenty of things to criticize in American boxing? 1,000%. I do it all the time. But all these foreign fighters, whether it be Cacace, whether it be Inoue, when they need top sparring, they always spar in American, or they come to America to level up their skills. So they need to really start talking. The whole world needs to start respecting American fighters again, because he's talking sideways. But look, has Cacace earned the right to talk trash about American fighters? Because you see his record, he's 24-1. He's a good. Listen, I've seen Cacace fight. He's a good fighter. Respect to him. Like, he's overachieved in his career. Really and truly, he has overachieved in his career, getting to where he's at 36 years old. But if we're looking at like his best wins, all right, his best wins on paper are Michael Magnesi, who's a good fighter. He's one of the top contenders at 130. You got Joe Cordina, the Welsh Wizard, former champion, two-time champion, Josh Warrington, and Lee Wood. None of those are his four best wins, and none of them are Americans. So he did not earn the right to talk trash about Americans. You understand me? If he wants to talk trash about American fighters, then he should fight an American fighter, and he should beat an American fighter the same way guys like, Carl Frampton, Joe Calzaghe, Tyson Fury, Kell Brook all did when they came to America and did that. He hasn't done none of that. He's fought, and I'm not trying to put those guys down or say British boxing is terrible or anything like that, because I like British boxing. Anybody who knows me knows I got a special place in my heart for British boxing. But really and truthfully, history will tell you that British boxing is not the same caliber as American boxing, excluding the heavyweight division. The last 20 years or so, I would say in the heavyweight division, the Brits have been better than us, for sure, no doubt about it. But historically speaking, American fighters have been taxing that ass. So that being said, Anthony Cacace needs to have a lot more respect for American fighters. And it is also worth noting, because we have to bring the facts. We have to have the receipts. We can't have short memories here on True School Sports. This is the same Anthony Cacace who, when push came to shove, it was only about, 8 months ago, earlier this year in January, when he was ordered to fight Eduardo Sugar Nunez, right? That was his IBF mandatory. What did he do? He dropped the belt and he ran out of Dodge. He didn't want no smoke with Eduardo Sugar Nunez because he knows what would happen to him. And he became an accountant. As soon as Nunez became the mandatory, he became an accountant. He was talking about he just wants the biggest fights of his career and this, that, and the third. So he fought faded names on British soil that will make him good money. God bless him. I'm glad he got good money. But let's not act like you don't get to have your cake and eat it. You can't say typical American fighters when you ain't fought no Mexican fighters and you ain't fought no American fighters. So till you do that, put some respect on Americans' name and keep the Americans' names out your mouth, because you were talking about Raymond Ford, right? You said he's a typical American fighter, doesn't have any stamina, doesn't have any gas, which, by the way, I made those criticisms myself. But look, Raymond Ford has been in a fight against a high-risk, low-reward opponent. He fought Otabek Komotov, who's still one of the best featherweights in the world. I don't care what nobody says. He's one of the best featherweights and one of the most feared featherweights out there. And he beat him. He beat him in one of the best fights you're ever going to see. So Ford, whether you love him or hate him, he earned his stripes. He's earned the right to talk a little bit and just talk and pop his shit if he wants to. Now look, Ford responded to him. As you guys can see, Raymond Ford responded to him, and he stated the following, and I quote, "If your bitch ass ain't hurt your back, maybe we would have got a chance to see you test my engine," which is very true. End quote. Very true. If you didn't hurt your back the same way you hurt your back when Nunez became mandatory, maybe you would have been able to expose Raymond Ford and show him for the front runner that you believe he is. But you didn't do that. And my thing is, you've been in a bubble, all right? You've been fighting them British fighters, them European fighters who are good fighters, but, and I'm not even saying Raymond Ford is this special fighter. He's good. He's very good. I think there's things that you can criticize with Ford, because I feel like Raymond Ford could give better performances at 130. I think he's leaving some things to be desired, even though he's winning these fights easily. He hasn't replicated the Komotov performance since the Komotov fight. So I understand. I'm not mad at nobody criticizing Ford. Even today, I saw Timothy Bradley criticize Raymond Ford, talking about, he feels like Raymond Ford is over-relying on his talent and he needs to push himself more. But at the same time, if we're talking about Ford and we're talking about Cacace, there's no comparison. Raymond Ford is a better fighter. And if Cacace, anybody in the UK has a problem with what I'm saying, then it's time for Cacace at some point in time to step up to the plate and leave the confines of British boxing and European boxing, and let's see if you can make Raymond Ford look like a typical American fighter. That's what it is. I'm not here to put down Cacace. Like I said, I like him. He's very tricky. He does have a good gas tank. I would say if he fought Ford, that's probably his best attribute is the fact that he's got a good gas tank, the fact that he doesn't get tired, the fact that he does have good stamina. But you can't talk bad about Raymond Ford. You can't call him a typical American or look down on him because you vacated the world title. You were put in a similar situation that Ford was put in when when him and Komotov got ordered to fight for the vacant title, and he fought Komotov as the B side and delivered something very, very special in the 2024 Fight of the Year and won the world title. You didn't do that. You got ordered to fight Sugar Nunez. You tucked your tail and you ran. Then you got the Ford fight and you pulled out of it. So either step to the plate or stop talking bad about American fighters, because you ain't fought no